All right, Hawkeye fans, how you feeling? Couple days before the Big Ten Championships, wanted to break down the Iowa draws, the brackets, the seeds, qualifications, the team race, the whole kit and caboodle for the Big Ten Championships for the Iowa Hawkeyes, because it's gonna be a big one. Obviously, this is the second most important tournament of the year. I think it's a mixed bag of draws for the Hawkeyes. I think in some instances they have favorable paths that you would probably prefer, and in others it's going to be tougher. And we'll start on the tougher side, and I'll kind of go through weight by weight how I am looking at this draw. Do I think they'll qualify? How well do I think they're going to place? And starting at 125, Drake Ayala got the 2 seed. That sounds good, but then what really matters when you talk about a seed is, well, who do you actually have to wrestle? And for Drake Ayala, I don't think this is a favorable path because he has a bye in round 1. So his first match is very likely going to be Michigan's Michael D'Agostino. Now, if you watched their match previously, you'd say that's winnable. But for the 2 seed against a 7 seed D'Agostino, you would hope for a better, a more favorable matchup. But this is going to be a super close match. They've wrestled. Drake actually beat him his true freshman year, but in the duel it was a tiebreaker win. I believe tiebreaker win for D'Agostino. If it wasn't tiebreakers, it came down to the mat and a late ride out for D'Agostino. So I think that's actually pretty tough and not the ideal path for Drake Ayala. Should he get by there, he'll have Barnett of Wisconsin or Braden Davis would be my prediction. So again, another really tough matchup. He had a very, very close win over Braden Davis. 1 takedown match. He got it in the first 15, 20 seconds of the match, and then really wasn't able to mount much other offense. But he didn't need it. He got his hand raised. I don't know who's going to win that Barnett-Davis match. Davis is a very fundamental forward, good attacks. Barnett's crazy. You never know what he's going to throw at you. So I'm not really sure who Drake's going to be facing there, but either poses a really tough matchup for him. And then should he run that gauntlet, who knows what weights on the other side. You would assume Matt Ramos, if you remember, last time they wrestled, it was pretty competitive. Drake was in on quite a few shots. He just couldn't find a way to get the finishes. 1 hard double from Ramos was really the difference in that match. Now, if it is Ramos versus Ayala in that final, I would expect a pretty similar match. It's going to come down to Drake Ayala finishing leg attacks. If he can get in and finish on Matt Ramos, he could be a Big Ten champion. So Big Ten takes 9 qualifiers at 125. Drake is in no danger of, in my opinion, not falling outside the top 9. Even if he did, disaster struck, he would get an at-large bid. So I think this Hawk will be wrestling at the NCAAs at Kansas City. No, a surprise to no one. Now, here's an interesting one, 133. Brody Tesche's the 14. Weird thing. It's been talked about enough. I don't know why or the steps that led to this happening in terms of when he was entered, but he's not really the 14 seed by the results he got. He's a 14 seed by some procedural issue, which to me, I think you throw out procedure in lieu of just getting it right? Wouldn't we just want, Brody Tesche's not the 14th best resume in there. He's probably around the 6th, if I had to say. So let's just not mess up the bracket. Let's not make him have to wrestle Nick Bouzakis. That's not fair to Bouzakis. Bouzakis should be wrestling who? Adams, not Teske. But weird thing. So that's his first match. Now, the Big Ten is taking 7 here, and I think Brody's right going to be on that line to qualify, probably. Now, a win here against Bouzakis would obviously set him in a great path. And I honestly think on this side, I don't think it's unnavigable for Brody. He's the 14 seed, but I really think he could go on a run here and potentially do some damage. So I see Brody. I don't see him winning this tournament, and I'm not even sure. I don't think he make the finals. Making it out of the first round, staying on championship side would be huge, but I think Brody does qualify, but you can't count out Braxton Brown of Maryland. He's the 7 seed. This guy's really tough. Madrigal for Illinois. Limited schedule, but he's tough as well. So there's a couple guys that I feel like are not, it's not a Nagao, a Ragusin, a Shawver, Van D that been talked about a lot this year. Those two guys are under the radar but really tough, and they're the kinds of guys that Brody's probably going to have to beat to qualify for NCAAs. And if he doesn't do that, I think he's got a decent chance for an at-large. He did miss some time when he was not the starter, when they were wrestling him at 141. And those matches, you say, well, he won those matches. Well, they don't count. It's only matches at the weight. So those are of no benefit to him. But he won the Soldier Salute. He's beaten Jacob Van D, who's the 4 seed, split with him this year. So I think at the end of the day, Brody Teske punches his ticket, qualifies to wrestle at NCAAs yet again. 141, Real Woods. I like his draw plenty. In a weight this deep, you're going to hit someone really tough pretty early. But I think his biggest challenge on his side of the bracket is not going to be till the semis, right? And that's probably how it should be. He's the 3 seed. He'll hit the 2 seed Mendez. I like that matchup for him. I think it's going to be a 1 takedown, really close match. I think the mat could be a factor here for Real to his advantage. I think if you've watched Jesse Mendez in the past, at times getting off the bottom has been a challenge. Real Woods is really good at riding guys and getting turns. So that could play to his advantage. And really, the way I look at 141 here is there's 5 monsters. Well, 3 of them are on the top side: Bo Bartlett, Brock Hardy, and Sergio Limley. That dude's a monster. I don't care what you say. So you're on the side with 2, and you're one of them. That's pretty good draw. Obviously, Real Woods is going to qualify for NCAAs. They take 11 here at this weight class. Not really worth discussing that. And I do think Real Woods makes the finals but falls to Bo Bartlett. But this dude can absolutely win this bracket and bring home a Big Ten champion for Iowa. I think he and Drake Ayala have the best chances of any Hawks to win Big Tens. They would be my guess. If you said, hey, they had 2 champs, I'd say 25 and 41 would be my guesses. 49, one of the bigger surprises I think for Iowa this year, not the biggest, we'll get to him, is Caleb Rachi of Iowa. He has been just really tough all year long. He won Soldier Salute. He's beaten some good guys. He beat Tyler Kasak, who has been one of the bigger stories of the season. He's the 3 seed. I don't like his draw as much out of the 3. He's going to have what I think is going to be a really tough matchup. Ethan Miller, don't sleep on this guy from Maryland. He has a lot of skills. He's got a lot of ways to score. He's a really good athlete. I think that's a tough matchup for Rachi. Don't be surprised if there's a mini, and it's a small upset if Miller wins it. Don't get it twisted. I've said that in the last 2 videos. I don't really say that. I need to find out. I need to use another verbiage. I hate it every time I say it, but here I go. Miller, I think can wrestle with Rachi. I think that's a really good match. So don't love that if you're an Iowa fan. And then the winner, it doesn't get much easier. Obviously, the tournament, it just gets tougher. You'd have Austin Gomez in all likelihood after that. Not sure about that matchup either for Rachi. However, health is always a thing, and how healthy is Austin Gomez right now is a legitimate question. We saw him; he was injured. He said in his interview at the Pan Am Olympic Games qualifier he was injured, so it's notable. So Rachi could make the finals, but I think he's got to win 2 really tough matches to get there. 149 is taking 9 out of the Big Ten. Rachi is in no danger of not qualifying for NCAAs. He's going to qualify. He'll be there in Kansas City, no doubt about it. But I don't think he makes the finals. I think he finishes somewhere in the probably 6 range. I have him behind Kasak. I have him behind, of course, Ridge Lovett and Austin Gomez. D'Amelio, I think, beats him, and even Ethan Miller, I think, is a threat. So I think he finishes in that 5-6 range in all likelihood, which is still, if you zoom out and I said, hey, Caleb Rachi's going to be 5th at Big Tens, you take that, right, coming into this year. So that's a potentially strong performance. Now, 157, another meat grinder. This weight is so deep. I mean, you got Will Lewan. This guy's a multiple All-American. He's the 7 seed at Big Tens. You got Joey Blaze, the 8-9. But for Iowa fans, you're worried about Jared Franek. Another draw that I don't think, it's not ideal. In winnable first one against Meckler, obviously, but second round, Peyton Robb, that's going to be a close match. That's going to be a hard match. And then if you win that, you're rewarded. You get to wrestle Levi Haynes. Now it's good. You get another crack at Levi. You get to see him one more time before NCAAs, but you're not likely to win that match because Levi's just that guy right now. So I see Franek hitting the backside. Maybe as early as at post-quarters, he could lose to Peyton Robb, but if not, I do think he loses in that semi to Levi Haynes. And it's a dogfight to wrestle back for third. You've got Michael Blockus, Will Lewan, Brayton Lee. I think Jared Franek he's navigated tough tournaments in the past in his career. He's been in some really good brackets. He's a really tough guy. He could wrestle back for third. He could finish high, but don't be insanely discouraged if he comes home with a 5th or 6th place finish at Big Tens. The sky's not falling here. This weight's just that good. And in 2 weeks from now, it could be a really different story. But I think when you consider the matchups here, it could be really tough for Franek to finish, top 2, I think is not likely. And even third, he's going to have to win a lot of tough matches to do that. But he certainly can and has done it in the past. 157's taking 9. Franek, of course, he's going to qualify. No problem there. He's going to be in Kansas City. 165, Michael Caliendo, the 3 seed. Another tough draw. And I know it's Big Tens, right? Okay, so it's tough, but you'd like to see a little less friction early in the tournament. And second round, this is not your normal 6 seed. Cam Amin is not your normal 6 seed, but that's who Caliendo's going to wrestle. That's tough. So he'll have him. I think he beats him. He's certainly had a far better year than Cam Amin, but that stuff can kind of go out the window in these postseason tournaments. We see time and time again. So that's notable for Caliendo. And then a Messenbrink rematch, which this is, if you're an Iowa fan, you're excited for this because you look at that third period, you're like, all right, we're figuring some stuff out. So can that be extrapolated, extended to, a little bit further into this match? Possibly. I think he probably falls to Mitchell in that semifinal round, but I do think he is the third best guy at this weight, and I think he finishes third. I don't think Caleb Fish or Antrell Taylor, they're tough matches, no doubt about it. Caleb Fish can put just about anyone on their back, but I think Caliendo is the best of that bunch, and I think he gets third. Outside shot, he makes the finals, but I think it's well outside. It's like a Caitlin Clark three-pointer for the record, kind of outside shot. 65's taken 10. Caliendo's gone. What are we talking about here? Moving on, 74. Patrick Kennedy. Think about where this guy started. First of all, he doesn't, the weight, where he is. He's going to be 74, 65, wrestling off. His first match at 74 looks crazy. He gets dominated by Incontrera Penn. You're like, oh, this is not good. Well, the guy's just gotten better and better and better every single time out. Kennedy is improving at a pretty impressive rate. He's the 3, he is the 3 here. I like his path to the semis. I think he gets by Ferrante, and then I think he gets by Turley in that quarterfinal match, but then that sets up a tough one against Griffith. And while I do think he can narrow that, I think he's dropping there. And then how high can he finish? He's going to have to, it's going to be a battle for third place. I know he's the 3 seed, but he's got to beat someone like Edmund Ruth or Rocco Welsh to do it. And I think very highly of both those guys. He's already beaten Edmund Ruth. Did not wrestle Rocco Welsh. I'd love to see that matchup. I think that's a great one. So I think I see Kennedy finishing in the 3 to 5 range. It'd be, I think, a pretty down performance if he finished outside the top 5. I feel pretty confident he'll be in that top 5 range. 74's taken 8. Kennedy's going. He's going to finish inside that top 8. If not, he'd get an at-large, no doubt. 184, this has been a rough weight for the Hawks this season. It's Aiden Riggins is the starter. He's the 13 seed. He's got Ryder Rogotsky, who's a lunatic and gets a lot of pins. And there's a chance he gets another one here against Riggins. It's going to be uphill for Aiden to qualify. They're taking 8 at 184. And looking at the top 8, 9, you got Saldano's the 8 seed. Fisher's tough out of the 9. I mean, someone like James Rowley is a 12. This is a tough weight. And I'd be pretty surprised to see Riggins end up qualifying. But weird stuff happens in these brackets. You never know. Injuries, brackets fall a certain way. You can't rule it out entirely. He could be in the mix, but it's uphill. He'll have to overperform and show something he hasn't shown yet this year if he wants to qualify. And he's not likely to get an at-large selection if he doesn't finish within the top 8. So That's that. 184, 197. This is the biggest surprise of Iowa's year. Zach Glazier has been nothing short of spectacular. He's been a rock, really, for Iowa. You know, there have been some ups and downs for guys this season, guys out with injury. He's been there. He's been tough. He's been in every single match. He wrestled Brooks to a 4-1 loss, which is eye-opening. He beat Luke Serber soundly against Oklahoma State. He majored Silas Allred. This guy's just a monster. I like his matchup to make the semis. I think that 3-6 matchup against Geog. I like Geog. I think he's got a little bit more time to go. I think he's going to have some really good years for Ohio State, but I still think he's working through some freshman stuff and figuring out how to win some of these tougher matches. I think Geog's going to be good, but I think Glazier gets him. And then Jackson Smith, athletically, I think that's a tough matchup for Zach Glazier. But things can happen in the third period of matches, right? And I think that'll be Glazier's opportunity to win. His hand fighting, I think, is really underrated. His athleticism and competence in scrambles, extremely underrated. No one's talking about this, but this guy, he knows what he's doing in these exchanges. So I think outside shot, you see Zach Glazier wrestling in the Big Ten Finals. Do not rule that out. If he doesn't make the finals, I think you should feel pretty good about him getting third. Silas Allred's the 4. He majored him. This is not the deepest weight at the Big Tens, right? This is a weight that could have one or two All-Americans coming out of this entire bracket, which is a little low for the Big Ten. So I think Glazier gets third here. I won't say at worst because like he could get fourth. Things happen. Silas Allred winning a match against him should not be shockwaves. But I would expect Glazier to finish third if he doesn't make the finals, which don't rule it out. 197's taking 7 weights. Glazier's going. Don't worry about it. He'll be in Kansas City. Here's a tight one for the Hawks. 285. Bradley Hill is the 7 seed. The Big Ten is taking 7. So it's going to be right there to qualify, not qualify. He's got Nash Hutmacher, first round. Hutmacher's tough. He beat him, though. He already beat this guy. And then he'll have Feldman. That's a tough matchup. So there's not a big opportunity for him to really get on a deep run. I think Feldman takes care of business. I think he matches up well, or I think Feldman matches up pretty good against Hill. The vulnerabilities that Feldman's shown, I don't think Bradley can really exploit them. So that sends him to the backside. He's going to have to beat, someone like Bennett Tabor of Minnesota, who's tough. Terrell, I think is right there to qualify. I think if it is, he's finishing 6th, 7th, or 8th. So if he's 8th, you don't get in. But it doesn't mean he doesn't go. It just means he doesn't get in, with the allocation. He'll need an at-large. I do think Bradley Hill is a good candidate for an at-large. I think he'll get some wins at Big Tens that can bolster his resume even further. So I think the Hawks get him through. He's not going to be a major point scorer at NCAAs, I don't believe. But getting guys through to the national tournament is still a big deal. Team race-wise, how much can the Hawks move up? Can they make a run at second? Can they challenge? I don't think anyone can challenge Penn State. But this second, third, fourth race is going to be really competitive. They're 2 points behind Nebraska, 4 points behind Michigan, which means you're virtually tied. I mean, that's a matter. Michael D'Agostino beats Ayala. That flips things. I don't see the Hawks. What I think is going to hurt Iowa, they could wrestle really well, but these are based on the scores that we have right now, or based on the seeds. Okay? So if you're wondering if a team can move up, you would need to find some examples where they can kind of make up, out-wrestle their seed. And I don't see a ton of opportunity. Real could win out of the 3. That's notable. Glazier feels about right. Drake Ayala, there's an opportunity he doesn't finish second, right? He could finish lower. So I think it's going to be really tough for them to make up a lot of points. Whereas a team like Michigan, they got a 7 seed at 125 that he's kind of beaten everyone that it would be in his path. Drake Ayala, he's beaten him. If he wrestles Eric Barnett in the semi, he's beaten him. If it's Matt Ramos in the final for D'Agostino, he majored him last year at Big Tens. So I think there's a little more opportunity for those teams to climb the ranks than Iowa. But if they fall off, it's so variable. And when it's this close, it's virtually a tie between these 3 teams. So I think the Hawks could very well finish second here. If they don't, it's not the sky's not falling. These teams are Michigan's really good, Nebraska's really good, and don't count out Ohio State. So that's my thoughts. I think final predictions. I think Iowa gets third place here, and I think we see them punch 9 through to NCAAs, all but 184 pounds. That's my prediction for the Hawkeyes. What do you think? How's Iowa going to do at the Big Ten Championships this weekend?